Hello and welcome to Maulana Azad National Urdu University's educational audio-video program. Today's lesson is the first one in a series of lessons on romantic poetry. As the title indicates, this lesson is based on Paper 1 British Poetry of the MA English first year program. The term romanticism has been discussed widely by various critics and scholars. The terms romantic poetry and romantic has also been addressed by various critics. In order to unravel romantic poetry, we have with us in our studios Dr. Yusuf Azmi. I welcome you, sir. Dr. Yusuf Azmi is Professor, Department of English at Shah's College of Engineering and Technology at Hyderabad. He has served as Adjunct Professor, East West University, Chicago. He has also been Head of the Department and Chairperson, Board of Studies at Anwarulum College, Hyderabad. He has also served as Coordinator, Language Cell, Osmania University. Dr. Azmi has been awarded PhD for his comparative work on Eliot and Iqbal. He has undertaken advanced research in UK in an international exchange program in collaboration with the British Council. Dr. Azmi has published extensively. He has several books and journal articles to his credit. He has also edited various magazines. Dr. Azmi has travelled extensively in the Middle East, the USA, the UK and various other countries. Dr. Azmi is also a much interviewed person. He has also been interviewed by the BBC and the Voice of America. So let's turn to Dr. Azmi in an attempt to unravel the mystery behind romantic poetry. Sir, will you please tell us how did the term romantic actually originate and who are the precursors to the romantic poets?
Dr. Gulfishan Habib, as you have pointed out at the very outset about the romantic concept, as a concept it has been always there, understand. It is nothing new as such, because in literature and a part of human experiences it is there. But as a precursor to romantic movement or romantic revolution, you find in a situation in the late Augustan age, Collins and others, they were very close. All felt the absolute dictum or decorum of classicism. Understand? There was no scope for individual freedom and so pre-romantics, they were their precursors. So 19th century is the basic. You make a cut point where the romantic development, a movement developed. However, you can say Blake has some kind of, he is like a bridge. So pre-romantic and other things. So it is a revolution in not only English literature but the world literature. In German, because the origin really lies in German. In fine arts, in painting, it has been a distinct movement afterwards and concept earlier.
Okay. So you just mentioned Collins among the precursors to the romantic movement. Can we also include Thompson, Burns, Blake also?
They are part
These
of
can
it.
also
I
be
said
referred to as the
the
precursors
late
to the
Augustan period.
Okay.
So I did not make a list of them, just I refer to them. Yeah, you are absolutely right.
Okay.
They are all
These are all the precursors
there are
to the
other minor
romantic.
also.
We have just been telling how there have been several definitions of the term romantic. How does Victor Hugo define a romanticism, and does his definition have any essential feature on the romantic poetry as such?
As you have pointed out at the very outset, 10,000, and Lucas has calculated 11,000 something like that, understand. So it became a loose term as such. But the basic thing, the spirit, what Victor Hugo wanted, liberalism in literature. Because there was no freedom for writer, poet and other things. You have to follow this strict meter, this is the decorum, and making salutes to the kings and other things. Where was the common man? Where was the validity of originality and spontaneity of human experience? Everything is like a tailor-made. So liberalism in literature, that was the concept of Victor Hugo, which is very valid, and still you have a lot of concepts in modern literature and other things, but liberalism should always be part of modernism, postmodernism in theory, concept, everywhere. You cannot ignore it.
Okay. So, because Victor Hugo insisted on liberalism in literature,
Yeah.
Individualism as such becomes an essential part of the romantic poetry.
Yeah, individualism is there. The individual was completely ignored. Understand? As I told you, people were making, I mean, adoration for kings, queens, and some of the feudal systems, and commonwealth was suppressed. So, an individual separation was there. There is a collective ethos. You have to follow this. And where was the individual? The individual freedom, every individual is a distinct entity. And romantics emphasize in terms of imagination, in terms of subjectivity, in terms of a different sphere compared to classical rigidity.
Okay. Dr. Azmi, do you think there are political overtones to the romantic movement?
Yeah.
And does it have anything to do with the French Revolution?
There are political overtones, but and basically French Revolution has inspired too many writers, because you see there is a change. As there was a change from agriculture to industrialization, in the political setup also there was a change. The change was the democratization. Understand? The common man's feeling. Later on everybody was disillusioned also, because then autocrat came on the horizon, political horizon. But there was a hope that the common man will emerge, a new system will come, a new system will help for the welfare of humanity.
Dr. Azmi, you already told us about liberalism and individualism. Why do you think there is so much significance attached to the individual in romantic poetry?
You see, sometimes what happens in not one day any movement takes place, it is a close, as you said, we discussed about the precursors and other things. That if you trace their different segments of poetry also, you will find they had imagination, they had a mystic element, they wanted some kind of liberation. So, individual is the basic, I mean himself, a lot of social structure was incorporated, but the common man's voice, individual's voice, because every individual is an entity in a different way. So, that was curbed. And it was a definitely reaction, that because the imagination is a very important thing, and without imagination you cannot give any solution through poetry. So, therefore, individual emphasis was natural, and it was a reaction to the earlier phase of literature.
Neoclassicism. What kind of theme is common to the romantic poetry, if there is a common theme running through romantic poetry?
Very important writer René Wellek also said, and many others, that imagination is the basic point that you find. And there are other things. Of course, René Wellek does not take into account the political overtones in that way, but he said imagination. The aspect of imagination is a basic things, and naturally there was a change in the society. Industrialization was too much, urbanization was too much, and the ethical problems coming out of this situation was in the shape of dehumanization. Then they felt, oh no, this, and the poetry, the language was so archaic kind of things, artificiality was there, the human real genuine emotions were not there. Therefore, nature, simplicity, democratization, and then mystic elements, and some kind of surprise and a change, and I mean spontaneous flow of emotions. These were the things that you find in romantic poetry.
So, as René Wellek says, romantic poetry gives a lot of importance to imagination, and not to reason, as the neoclassical writers have done. So,
but reason, they have not completely ignored reason. There is a misconception, as a matter of fact. Understand? If you take Gulfishan into account, the lyrical ballads, the second edition, where recollected is emphasized. Understand? It's not just tranquility. He made it very clear. For instance, his prelude, 40 years he took. So, this itself shows how much there was a gap. He understand, he made it very clear. Tranquility, not spontaneity is the thing, but spontaneity in a moment, then consideration, reconsideration, recollected. So, rationality is not completely lacking there, but intuition was also emphasized. Earlier only rationality was there. Then if you attach too much importance to rationality, so it will become a scientific formula and not poetry. Poetry is definitely part of human emotions, human experiences, humans' visuals and all, so those things. So that was the point.
Dr. Azmi, what poetic form is favored by the Romantic poets? And
actually,
any
Romantic
special reason for
poetry
that?
had deviated certain forms, understand. Basically, there was very strict measure in classical, and the poetry is a tailor-made like thing. I mean, tailor take this. So then they said no. If, for instance, Wordsworth wrote many sonnets, he made some changes into it. Understand? And and then you find in other poets also. So deviations was there. Understand? And language was different compared to others, and there was originality in things, and whether inner rhymes or in so many aspects, they do make changes. But in modern poetry, you find a complete change. They are now writing prose poems, they are writing free verse, and emphasis was shifted towards blank verse rather than just pentameter, and the shifted blank verse. And it had scope for writing on epic like things.
While we are talking about the shift from the neoclassical to the Romantic, will you please tell us some innovations that we find in Romantic poetry? You have already listed some.
Yeah, innovation in the sense of not completely cut off from the tradition actually. It is not completely cut off. It is a continuity. As Eliot said, tradition and individual talent. So, this tradition, there is individual talents, and as a movement they brought about languages change. For instance, modern poetry's language is different, and what Eliot says, I want to refine the tribe's tongue. So, language, if you find classical and other, you will find a certain kind of spontaneity, freshness, new images, new symbols, and not just urban, but rustic, and also the inner personality of a man, understand, not just making that political overtones to that extent. The man in reality is marginalized, that is this.
Okay. So, what has been the contribution of Wordsworth to Romantic poetry?
Wordsworth's contribution is very significant, as it is generally said among the great poets of English, Shakespeare, Wordsworth, Milton, in modern times, Eliot. So, this is the graph naturally is drawn. So, Wordsworth definitely, he wrote a lot, first thing, understand. The second thing, he contributed to Romanticism through the manifesto lyrical ballads, understand. First and second you see the whole how the thing should be moved, because it is a revolution, definitely. It was a revolution in a way, may not be sudden. So, Wordsworth has given the direction to the Romantic movement, and definitely Coleridge was part of the thing, but Wordsworth's contribution is very significant as a major poet, as also a person who gave concepts to Romantic things in terms of his practice, in terms of his critical idiom, and so many things.
So, in what ways can we say Wordsworth is a pioneer?
Yeah, definitely Wordsworth is a pioneer. You can give credit to Coleridge also, because they were so great friends, and they used to meet. Sometimes commonality of phrases in their works also appear, because they used to discuss. But Wordsworth has end job because his poetry had so much appeal, and in addition to greatness also. And it is not just kind of artificiality. You will find what he emphasized, laid down emphasis and spontaneity, you do find in him, in his poetry, understand. So, he contributed, he inspired other writers also, and that's why Wordsworth's contribution is immense. Of course, his prelude he took 40 years, and other things published later posthumously, and his contribution is very significant as a practicing poet, as a person who has given the theory to Romantic movement, and him very a lot.
Just now you mentioned spontaneity, and a little while ago you were also referring to Wordsworth's definition. For the benefit of our students, can you please tell the definition of poetry as given by Wordsworth?
You see, I do not believe in terms of definition. We can describe, understand. कहूँ जो कुछ तो तेरा हुस्न हो गया महदूद, This is a line of a poet, Urdu poet. You see, if you define, then the frame is there.
Yes.
You can describe the things. And poetry, like these things, you can't define. You can say today you will define, tomorrow it will be irrelevant within no time. And actually, he wants to take poetry as a form to, I mean, some kind of spiritualization, subtle spiritualization was there for bring a change in human sphere from the poetry. And poetry, he feels that the spontaneity should bring, that feeling should bring, and feeling emotions and all those things. And he assigns a very great role to poet in his work.
So, as Wordsworth, now I will not use define, I will say describe, as Wordsworth describes poetry as the spontaneous overflow of powerful emotions recollected in tranquility, what do you think are the implications of this definition in the study of romantic poetry as such?
As far romantic poetry is concerned, it is okay, but later on you cannot just make a very extension for that, understand. It is not just emotion recollection and tranquility only. Poetry can be written in moments when you are somewhere fixed, and also. It is not just sitting and sun while passing through the train or flying in the airplane or any moment. Just not sitting in tranquility. I mean, the world has gone so rapid, which you witness so much change. So I do feel that there is no need of just tranquility. I mean, his mind, the creative process will continue in this. There is no need to sit and have the moments of tranquility, understand. So that visualization can be also possible. And some of the romantic kind of poets, they get some kind of revelation kind of things. In Urdu poetry, Ghalib says, आते हैं ये ख्याल मज़ामी गैब से आते हैं मज़ामी ख्याल में. And Iqbal also, you see that a great poet who wrote सारे जहाँ से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हमारा. He says, sometimes I feel the whole poem is I got the image. So these are some of the things, and creative process will be different from time to time, person to person, age to age, and other things.
Dr. Azmi, what then according to Wordsworth is the aim or should be the aim of a poet?
Actually, he gives a very great role to poet, understand. He thinks that poet has the capacity in terms of his superconsciousness, inverted comma and superconsciousness, his capacity to understand the world, universe, man, and the relationship between a man. He should be a guiding figure for the other people to give them taste and certain kind of humanizing them and harmonizing them with subtle kind of spiritual elements. May not be any strict practicing religion, but certain kind of spirituality.
Okay. So just as Wordsworth considers nature to be his guide, he also expects the poet to be a guide to the rest of the humanity.
Healing touch, teacher, and other things. So this he inspired a lot of people.
Did Wordsworth differentiate between the language of poetry and the language of prose? And do you think whatever his views are on this, are they valid?
I do believe that some subtle line has to be there. May not be so strict, I mean, as demarcation as earlier days, but Wordsworth did not believe that there is definitely a line between prose and poetry. Coleridge laid down emphasis on that. No, there is both the things. Wordsworth, because he wanted simplicity, the language of the common man, the spoken and other things. So he tried his best to bridge the gap, but he did not believe in terms of very distinct difference between prose and poetry. Understand? But I think there has to be some difference, otherwise poetry will lose its form, as a structure, as a genre, and so many things. There has to be some difference. Understand? You can't say that prose and poetry different. There is difference in terms of structure, frame. Poetry is a language emotive and more symbolic, and you find more meanings of different multiple meanings. It's not the prose cannot bear that kind of. There will be multiple meanings, as Emerson said, 7 layers of ambiguity, then symbolism, and so many things with that you find. Of course, that kind of classical approach definitely was not contributed to the further growth of poetry, but there has to be some difference, otherwise the distinct entity will not be there.
Dr. Azmi is a critic, he is also a poet. So, the poet in him makes him feel that what Wordsworth says about the language of poetry and the language of prose not being very different is not valid. Dr. Azmi, will you also tell us what according to Wordsworth is the role of meter? Does he give any significance to meter at all?
He does not ignore meter. The whole his poetry, if you take, he does not ignore meter, understand. But he made some changes, and the changes are not so radical like modern poetry, understand. The changes within a short space that he made it. So, meter completely he did not ignore.
Okay. But he did not give it the kind of importance that Coleridge or others, the new classicals would have given.
Importance, understand. So, what happens, suppose what he said, if you put constraint on thought through the framework, the originality will be lost and the passion will be checked and the whole artificiality will be a part of the poetic realm. So, then poetry is lost.
Do you think there are some shortcomings in Wordsworth's theory and the actual application or practicing of his theory? Did he himself encounter some shortcomings, or do we notice any such shortcomings in his poetry?
There are, but very marginal, what I mean. The first shortcomings, other shortcomings that you find in romantics, so they were so much preoccupied with nature, they ignored the social issues. Understand? Robert Frost wrote a poem, An Evening, going and watching the things. Then he says, no, I should come back. Then similarly, I can't submerge myself into this jungle. My identity definitely will be there, but I have promises to keep what he said.
To go. Yes.
So, miles to go. Similarly, Sarojini Naidu also wrote a poem. Understand? Same kind of thing. Oh, I have to work. I mean, this. So, social issues were not much involved. Understand? There is definitely humanizing aspect on the larger scale, but certain times you will find when you are a product of the age or you are a part of the age or contemporary to certain situations, then certain issues will definitely come in. And these people was harping on nature. Of course, the tragic aspect today is that the man and nature, you will find, because of technological onslaughts, hardly any kind of relationship is there. That is the tragic dimension that did feel at that moment. But however, just going on harping nature and ignoring the other aspects. So, that is one of the important thing, that a kind of shortcomings. Some kind of thing that he said in his prose and in the manifesto of romanticism, lyrical ballet, you can consider as a manifesto, he could not practice. Later on he realized it can't be spontaneity of, then he said recollected, but he took, why did he take 40 years to naturally something he felt it. So, there are certain things that you find gaps between reality, perception, practice, they are there. And I think the shortcomings are not very major, but major, it becomes major when the commitment to society is taken into consideration. If you look from a different perspective, no, I have a commitment to humanity, not to the contemporary age or other thing. They have the right, a universal man of all timeless element, that is also right.
So, this was Dr. Yusuf Azmi trying to unravel the mystery behind romantic poetry. Dr. Azmi in the last 30 minutes has told us a lot about romantic poetry. He told us how the term originated, who were the precursors to the romantic poetry. He has talked about the contribution of Wordsworth. He has also talked about his shortcomings. So, let us quickly try to conclude and sum up what romantic poetry could be, but please remember, this is just part 1 of a series on romantic poetry. This is just the beginning. We have miles to go before we sleep, we have miles to go before we close our books. So, let us quickly sum up what we have learned today. The romantic writer, as Dr. Azmi has rightly pointed out, insists on his uniqueness. Life is considered an expression of his unique feelings. The individual is the center, he is the center of all life and he is the center of all experience. Romanticism affects not just literature, but it also affects art, music, philosophy, religion and politics, as Dr. Azmi has rightly pointed out. Dr. Azmi has repeatedly referred to the lyrical ballads as a manifesto. Let me remind you that the lyrical ballads was published in the year 1798, and then in 1800 Wordsworth wrote the preface to the lyrical ballads. And around this time, between 1789 and 1799, the French Revolution took place, and as Dr. Azmi has already told us, the French Revolution did have an impact on the Romantic movement in England. The Romantic movements, as Dr. Azmi has already told us, made several innovations, not just in theme, but in form, in style and in diction. The landscape and various aspects of the landscape become extremely important in a study of Romantic poetry. Unlike the neoclassicals, the wild, the irregular and the grotesque fascinate the Romantics. As Dr. Azmi has already told us, it is the rural life that is idealized. The country becomes the focal point of attention. And then, while there is a continuity of tradition, conformity to tradition is no longer respected. If we were to sum up, is concerned with the individual, the informal, the emotional and the dynamic. About Wordsworth, Dr. Azmi has told us about his major innovations in subject matter as well as in diction. In subject matter, if I were to quote Wordsworth himself, he spoke about incidents and situations from common life, and about diction, to use a phrase from Wordsworth himself, a selection of language really used by men. Dr. Azmi has been telling us these points. The definition of poetry, as Wordsworth attempted to give, or rather the description of poetry as Dr. Azmi would try to tell us, is poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. It takes its origin from emotion recollected in tranquility, and from what you have heard Dr. Azmi speaking today, arguing his points, you can very well understand that though Wordsworth attempted to focus Romantic poetry on these points, there are several issues that need to be considered and reconsidered while taking into account what he has to say about Romantic poetry. Dr. Azmi also told us that though Wordsworth does not find much difference between the language of the prose and the language of poetry, and that he does not give much importance to meter, this again is a point that needs to be thought, argued, defended and represented. So, until we meet again next time with the next part in the series of Romantic poetry. So, until we meet again, this is Dr. Gulfisha Habib bidding goodbye to you and to our expert Dr. Yusuf Azmi. Thank you very much, sir. It was a pleasure to have you with us in our studios.
It's my pleasure also.
Thank you, sir. And to all you students watching the program now, take care.